I turned 60 this year and has me thinking a lot more about longevity and the quality of life I want for my remaining years. I read a great editorial called Bridging the Gap Between Strengthspan and Lifespan. It divided strengthspan, which I consider an essential part of healthspan, into 3 stages of life, and finally the increased lifespan it'll bring. Us guys over 50 are now entering into the 3rd stage. And what we want is to never lose our independence and to be able to continue to function like we could when we were much younger men. The impact of resistance training can't be understated. Do you feel exhausted and more tired now than when you were younger? Strength training can help. The stronger you are, the easier basic tasks become. And this is the same whether you're 50, 60, 70, or 120. As we get older, we tend to lose type 2 muscle fibers. Actively resistance training can help counteract this loss, and that's something cardiovascular training or aerobic training doesn't do. The more of these fibers we have, the longer we can maintain our strength and power. I will say, if you want to get the best out of your training for longevity, a combination of both resistance and cardiovascular training makes sense. The benefits of strength training go a lot deeper than just energy levels and protecting muscle mass. One meta-analysis examining 10 different studies found performing any amount of resistance training versus performing no resistance training lowered the risk of all-cause mortality by 15%. That's any amount of resistance training, and it could be far less than the optimal dose. We'll talk a little bit more about what the optimal amount of training is for you in a minute. But first, let's look at some of the ways it reduces mortality. One way it does this is through the muscle that strength training builds, which does more than just make us look good. It allows our body to better store and use glucose, improving insulin sensitivity and blood sugar control, and helping to prevent diseases like diabetes, liver cancer, and coronary heart disease. Speaking of heart disease, this isn't the only cardiovascular disease weight training reduces the risk of. It lowers the odds of dying from any form of cardiovascular disease by 19%. Again, we're not talking about optimal training here. It should be no surprise that building more lean muscle mass improves body composition and reduces visceral fat. If you'd like more information on how to unlock muscle growth over 50, I'll leave a link to a free guide in the top comment. Resistance training also strengthens our bones and lowers blood pressure, further adding to the ways it prevents all-cause mortality. One of the ways strength training improves longevity that we might not think of is by reducing our risk of cancer. Compared to people who don't resistance train or do any moderate to vigorous physical activity, strength training reduces the risk of cancer by 16%. Again, it's worth mentioning combining it with some form of cardio reduces the risk further to 28%. Resistance training has a bigger effect on certain cancers. One study I looked at found a 36% lower risk of bladder cancer and a 48% lower risk of kidney cancer. It also significantly reduces the risk of colon cancer. We can't go back in time to when we were young and start resistance training, but we can work now to get ourselves into the best shape possible for our age, allowing us to be in better shape and healthier than most men who are decades younger. Getting into great shape as an over 50 guy sets a fantastic example for others too, and not just people our age, but kids and younger friends. One thing the article I mentioned at the beginning of the video pointed out was developing strength at a younger age allows those people to have more strength in reserve for when they get older. And who wouldn't want their children to avoid the health issues that we might be experiencing as older adults? Another way to look at this is it's like saving for retirement. They train now when they're young, and by the time they're old, it'll pay dividends in health and longevity. For a lot of us, we didn't start working out when we were younger. Myself, I didn't start until I was 45, so we might not have a lot in our strength account, but we can build it up. When it comes to the optimal amount of training we need as older men, you need to consider how much time you have to train and how well you can recover. For most of my clients, doing full body workouts 3 times a week, along with a couple of shorter cardio sessions, is very manageable. For you, it may be a little bit more or a little bit less. You'll find that as you get into better shape, your ability to recover will improve. To see how to put together a dumbbell workout that can be modified to any fitness level, watch this video next. And don't forget to get a copy of my free guide in the top comment so you can keep working out while having fun. This is Lawrence from Fit and 50, and we'll talk to you again in the next one.